DIY desk build with a cabinet. Lots of storage in there for all the office supplies. And that'll keep the desk nice and clean and open. Here are the pieces that we have cut so far, and this will be the majority of the pieces we're going to need. The desktop is going to be this treated 2x12. It was a 12-foot 2x12, so I cut that in half and ripped about 1/8 of an inch off the sides just to get the sides where everything would marry up good. And I'll be joining those two together, those two 6-footers, to make the desktop. That's the only board that is new, and it was actually left over from a project. I didn't go out and purchase it for this project. The rest of the lumber is recycled deck lumber. It's more of the lumber that came out of our old deck, along with some other lumber that I had saved from another deck I tore out. So this right here, this is going to be some framework that will go underneath the desk. This board is going to make up the other leg, and then this narrow one, not really sure what or if I'm going to do anything with it yet. But these were all, or this was all out of 2x6 lumber. And then on this project, I'm actually going to be using some of the actual deck lumber as well. So these are the boards that you would buy at a box store or a building store that you would actually use for deck lumber. I've got to let that set and dry, and then we'll be ready to build the cabinet next. shelves are all in, and I have a cap on it, or a top. And what I decided to do was give it an overhang of about 3/4 of an inch on the sides. And then on the front, it has a 2-inch overhang. 1 inch of that is going to be burned up with the trim on the front. And then the other inch will just be kind of a cap for the door once it's on. So the front will be more or less flush with the door. Actually not quite, because the door is going to be a barn style door, and so it's going to be thicker than the top, which is fine. You can change that however you want, depending on what style you want, if you just want to go flush or hang over more. So anyway, the shelves are all in. What I did on each shelf, I've got a full board and then 2 boards that I ripped. I believe it was 1 3/8 inches off of each one to fit the space, and then another full board. So that comes out nice and clean. And the next step is to make the trim pieces for the front. So the trim is on the front. Thor decided to come out here and check it out, get under my feet. But anyway, the trim is all on the front, so now it's time to put together a door. So all the barn door pieces are cut, and now I'm getting ready to glue and clamp everything together. I have a clamp on both ends that's just kind of holding the boards tight together, but nothing has been fastened or glued yet. Not too bad for one day. I've got the door done. Boiled linseed oil is on it, and you can tell it's fresh. It hasn't even all soaked in yet. So kind of excited to see how that's going to look. I think that's going to have a nice rich look to it. The cabinet is all done, other than the same thing. I'm going to linseed oil the outside and the face, but I'm not going to do the shelves, the inside of the cabinets. I'm going to leave that bare. So just be the sides, the top, and the face. And then the top, it's upside down still. The glue's still curing. But I actually pulled out my router sled and went over the top. Well, leveled the top of the desktop. So that's all leveled out and sanded. So in the morning, when the glue's cured good, I can go ahead and put linseed oil on that. There are the 2 legs, and I can go ahead and oil those. Just about ready to go install this. The hinges are on, top and bottom. Right now I don't have any kind of spring hinges or an actual latch for a closure. Still need to figure something out there. I think probably what I'm going to do is just a magnetic closure, but that actually closes up really nice. So a couple things that I've done to go ahead and prepare for installing is I put a cleat on the side of the cabinet, and this is where the desktop is going to sit. And essentially that's just going to make my job easier putting everything together. It'll sit right there in place, and then all I've got to do is check everything for level and go ahead and run my screws in. On the desktop, I went ahead and put my screws in that will actually be screwing the desktop to the cabinet. So those are already ran all the way in to where they're just about ready to pop out. And then I went ahead and mounted the legs. I didn't get too fancy with the legs. I've got 2 toenail screws right here on both, and then from the end I came in with 2 screws, And as you can see, they're glued in place also. So that should be nice and tight, sturdy. We'll get some dimensions after it's all installed, but let's go ahead and move it into place and get it installed. It is all in. I really like the way that turned out. Now obviously there's a lot of cords there that are going to have to be hidden and all that. Get it cleaned up for the space, but you guys haven't really got to see the top since it was leveled out, sanded. That turned out nice. The joint down the center is almost invisible, which is awesome. So, and I don't have a jointer or a planer, so the way I accomplished that was just ripping off about 1/8 of an inch of the edge on the table saw with everything squared up good and a nice long guide to keep the board straight, and came out great. So anyway, that's a DIY desk build with a cabinet. In this case, it's going to be used as a computer desk, but this could be used for an office desk, business desk, writing desk, you know, you name it. Really like the way it turned out. Like I said, the only thing left to do is get some kind of closure, but the door actually stays closed. So lots of storage in there for all the office supplies, and that'll keep the desk nice and clean and open. So I guess the last thing is, let me get you guys some dimensions. Overall, starting with the cabinet is 5 feet tall and it's 22 inches deep. So is the desktop, it's 22 inches deep. The desk itself is 6 feet long, and altogether desk and cabinet comes to 94 inches, just a little over. And then the desk height, which is that's a big thing, 28 inches underneath. The desktop is 31.5. So 31.5 inch desktop, 28 inches underneath, which is your clearance. And actually I'll grab a desk chair real quick. Okay, so I've got the chair all the way up. Very nice. That's a good comfortable height. I could go a little bit shorter if I was going to be doing a lot of typing. I might want it just a little bit shorter so it's more in line with the chair arms. But honestly, for me, this is perfect, and lots of space under here. I'm 5'10", so if you were quite a bit taller than me, you know, 6 foot something, this would especially be ideal because your legs are going to be longer. Gives you a little bit more clearance. But I love the way it turned out, guys. So now it's time to do the fun stuff. Turn off the camera and get it all set up to use it. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Really appreciate your views and your likes. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.